Lorenzo. Welcome to the program. No Victocrats allowed because we've got a country to save. So let's get her teed up!
You want to play what? Say hello to my little friend. What the hell's going on out here? Ooh, that's a bingo.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. An expert says that 75% of the so-called 22 million who will lose health care coverage under a repeal and replacement plan, 75% of those will drop it only because the mandate has been removed. White House new communications director, Anthony Scaramucci, had his coming out party this Sunday on the Sunday Chat Show. We're talking about that. The RNC is way outraising the DNC despite Donald Trump's troubles. And why can't the Republicans figure out a health care repeal and replacement plan? But, of course, the big news is that Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, testified before a House Intelligence Committee behind closed doors. He will do the same thing with a Senate Intelligence Committee behind closed doors. He'll do the same thing with the House Intelligence Committee tomorrow. He put out an 11-page statement, and he said that he did not collude. And after his 2-hour behind closed doors session, he came out and he made a statement. We're talking about all of that. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. But first, Jake Tapper admits he doesn't know if there's any evidence of collusion.
That is manufactured.
Have they found any, Jake, have they found any evidence that the president or anybody in the campaign has colluded with the Russians, Jake?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you know what? A lot of people have said that. You know, like you're saying with 100% certainty that they have affected the election or they turned over the emails. There's a lot of people that are saying with 100% certainty that there was not one person in the Trump campaign that colluded with the Russians. Paul Manafort is going to testify this week.
Yeah.
My very close friend Jared Kushner is going to testify tomorrow. I predict that will be the last time Jared Kushner talks about the Russians. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. You said that there was.
He's a very honest guy, Jake.
You said I have no reason to think Jared's not honest.
Yeah, he's very honest. So he'll be done testifying. There's nothing to the story, and
we're going to have that for you in just a few minutes. 888-971-SAG. Now, I want to remind you of something. Turmoil in the Trump White House. Do you know that Obama went through 4 secretaries of defense in about 5 years? The first one was Robert Gates, wrote a scathing book in which he said that, among other things, that both Hillary and Obama told him that when they were in the Senate and they opposed the surge that turned around the Iraq War, they both opposed it for political reasons. Not for tactical reasons, not for military reasons. They admitted it to him. He said he was shocked that they said this to me. He also said that regarding the Iran deal, that Obama did it for the hope, his word, that after 10 years of prosperity, the Iranians would turn away from terrorism. A hope that Gates thought was unrealistic. And then we had Panetta. Panetta wrote a book, also negative. And Chuck Hagel gave an interview where he said the White House was trying to sabotage him. Where were CNN, MSNBC talking about all the palace intrigue? Here's what Gates said.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. We spoke Friday to former Secretary of Defense Bob Gates at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia, where he is chancellor. Secretary Gates' best-selling book, Duty, Memoirs of a Secretary at War, is now out in paperback. And we asked, among other things, what he thought about the nuclear deal with Iran.
Well, first of all, getting the Iranians to the negotiating table in the first place was a success for U.S. foreign policy. They didn't come to the table out of goodwill. They came to the table because their economy was being strangled and the leadership was afraid they might get overthrown. So they're there because they have to be there. I think that the agreement, there's some specifics in the agreement that are very encouraging, but I have several concerns that I hope can be addressed in the negotiations between now and June. The first is the timing of the lifting of the sanctions. Are they going to be lifted right away? As long as the Iranians agree to implement the agreement, or will they be phased over time based on performance, which has been our position all along. The second is verification. Unless we have sort of on-demand inspection at all facilities, including military facilities, I think there's a great potential to cheat. Third, I think that the idea of being able to have these snap-back sanctions, that sanctions could be reimposed once lifted, is very unrealistic. I think that the pursuit of the agreement is based on the president's hope that over a 10-year period, with the sanctions being lifted, that the Iranians will become a constructive stakeholder in the international community. That as their economy begins to grow again, that they will abandon their ideology, their theology, their revolutionary principles, their meddling in various parts of the region. And frankly, I believe that's very unrealistic.
The outgoing Secretary of Defense says about Obama's most important foreign policy achievement, the Iran deal, that it was based upon a hope that he thought was unrealistic. Where was the outcry? And don't forget that New York Times article that talked about Ben Rhodes, the architect of this Iran deal, bragging that he sold the deal on a narrative. The narrative was that the hardliners were staring down the moderates, and if you want to give the moderates a stronger hand, you have to have this Iran deal. A narrative that he admits was phony, was made up. Where was the congressional investigation? Oh, yeah. And one more time, I want to remind you of Chinagate. February 1997, the Washington Post, Bob Woodward wrote, quote, "A Justice Department investigation into improper political fundraising activities has uncovered evidence that representatives of the People's Republic of China sought to direct contributions from foreign sources to the DNC before the 1996 presidential campaign. Officials familiar with the inquiry said." I'm skipping. "The Chinese effort to win influence with the Clinton administration can be traced in 1993, one source said. Some investigators suspected a Chinese connection to the current fundraising scandal because several DNC contributors and major fundraisers had ties to Beijing." Again, this is the Washington Post, February 13, 1997. Last February, Charles Tree, a fundraiser for the DNC, used his influence with party officials to bring Wang Jun, head of a weapons trading company owned by the Chinese military, to the White House coffee with Clinton. Wang also heads a prominent state-owned investment conglomerate. Clinton has since said he should not have met with Wang, and $640,000 in checks that Tree delivered to the president's legal defense fund has been returned because of questions about the source of the funds. End of quote. Now, the DNC vice chair and fundraiser at the center of this illegal contribution was formerly a top executive involved with Asian and Chinese corporations, with some holdings sold to the Chinese government. You with me? Now, before joining the DNC, he left his corporate job with a large severance and worked at the Department of Commerce for 18 months, where he enjoyed a top-secret clearance. Evidence showed more than 70 calls from his Commerce office to a bank controlled by his former corporation, memos of calls from Chinese embassy officials, 3 meetings scheduled with Chinese government officials, a breakfast and a dinner at a Chinese embassy, and at least one visit to the, quote, residence of the Chinese ambassador, close quote. Now, after a year investigation, FBI Director Louis Freeh sent Clinton Attorney General AG a 22-page memo stating, and I quote, "It is difficult to imagine a more compelling situation for appointing an independent counsel," close quote. Several months later, a man named Charles Labella, head of the DOJ campaign task force, sent a report to Reno recommending the same thing. The evidence, he wrote, quote, "suggests a level of knowledge within the White House, including the President's and First Lady offices, concerning the injection of foreign funds into the re-election effort," close quote. Reno, of course, declined all requests for an independent counsel. This is why so many of us circle the wagon around Donald Trump when it comes to these kinds of very shallow, thin, bogus charges of collusion. We're going to hear from Jared Kushner when we come back. 888-971-SAGE. I am Larry Yoder. Do not leave town.
Call in now and join the conversation. 888-971-SAGE. That's 888-971-7243. Setting fire to the airwaves. It's the Larry Elder Show.
Hey Larry, this is Michael from Boise. I'm listening unwittingly or unwillingly to all this Russia collusion crap from, well, the Democrats. And it just, I gotta say, they must be so excited. This is the first time since World War II that the Democrats have considered Russians our enemy. It's absurd. And I understand you report on the news, but man, I wish we could stop talking about this.
Does that mean you think I am a Russian princess?
888-971-SHE, 888-971-7243. Some of you might be old enough to remember candidate Jimmy Carter saying that we need to get over, quote, our inordinate fear of the Soviet Union, close quote. And this is when the Soviet Union was still the Soviet Union. And it is kind of sickening, isn't it? Obama throws the Poles and the Czech Republic under the bus after Bush negotiates the missile defense deal because he wanted to curry favor with the Russians. Tells Hillary to push the reset button because he thought Bush was a warmonger. Activity that encouraged the Russians to be more aggressive. And then, of course, told Medvedev that after the 2012 election, I'll have more flexibility. He was talking about missile defense. That's not a problem, though. But Donald Trump's in bed with the Russians. It's just mind-boggling. So son-in-law Jared Kushner testified behind closed doors before the Senate Intelligence Committee, who did the same thing behind closed doors for the House Intelligence Committee. Here's what he said afterwards.
My name is Jared Kushner. I am senior advisor to President Donald J. Trump. When my father-in-law decided to run for president, I served his campaign the best I could because I believe in him and his ability to improve the lives of all Americans. And now, serving the President and the people of the United States has been the honor and privilege of a lifetime. I am so grateful for the opportunity to work on important matters such as Middle East peace and reinvigorating America's innovative spirit. Every day, I come to work with enthusiasm and excitement for what can be. I have not sought the spotlight. First in business and now in public service, I have always focused on setting and achieving goals and have left it to others to work on media and public perception. Since the first questions were raised in March, I have been consistent in saying that I was eager to share any information I have with the investigating bodies, and I've done so today. The record and documents I have voluntarily provided will show that all of my actions were proper and occurred in the normal course of events of a very unique campaign. Let me be very clear. I did not collude with Russia, nor do I know of anyone else in the campaign who did so. I had no improper contacts. I have not relied on Russian funds for my businesses. And I have been fully transparent in providing all requested information. Donald Trump had a better message and ran a smarter campaign, and that is why he won. Suggesting otherwise ridicules those who voted for him. It is an honor to work with President Trump and his administration as we take on the challenges that he was elected to face. Creating jobs for American people, keeping America safe, and eliminating barriers to achieving